Happily ever after, it doesn't just accidentally happen. It will not happen. You don't oops, slip, and fall in a good, successful marriage. Most marriages that you could think of right now, even, if you could probably count them on your hand, those who have been married, longer than 10 years, and they're still romantic. You'd switch places with them. The fire is still there. Most folks, if you're honest, you can't really think of a lot of those relationships. And so why would you think that your relationship's going to be any different? Why would I think my marriage has a snowball's chance in hell of being successful? Do you think you're going to beat the odds? And so really, I want to make sure we do this right. Chances are you're married now and you want a better marriage, like I want my marriage to continue to grow, or you plan on getting married one day. It's the entire fabric of our civilization is built on family. And the smallest component of that is the marriage. And your life in general. It's an incredibly important subject.
Ev, I don't think this is working.
Why?
It's raining and we're in trash bags.
Dang it. I guess you're right. We should have called Sportsman's Guide and used code WARPOD at checkout. I thought the bags would work. Samurai sword was not the best idea right off the bat. Probably should have gone with more like a machete from Sportsman's Guide.
And like a rain suit.
Rain suit from Sportsman's Guide. There's some guys farther down the trail. I'm gonna yell to them so that they use code WARPOD. This is ridiculous.
Deal, do it.
Deal. Hey guys, use code WARPOD at checkout, sportsmansguide.com.
I am thrilled to be able to bring my bride in. Hey.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Good.
Nice to see you. You just kind of snuck in here real quick, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Under the radar.
What I wanted to talk about today is some radically different stuff that we've employed in our marriage, and it's made all the difference. We haven't arrived. We're still on a journey, but 15 years in, I'd be willing to say we're better now than we ever have been. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. It's been hard fought, hard won. Yeah.
I like that you said hard fought and hard won. How do you feel when someone says, "Oh, you're lucky that you found someone that would X, Y, Z"?
Yeah, I think you hate to hear that, right?
I hate that
because we become who we're trying to constantly strive to be better. We're trying to improve ourselves and have grace for each other, and be one and not go different ways and all the little decisions.
Right, but the reason I hate it the most is it cheapens the work we've put in. Mm-hmm. Like we fought it out.
Right.
Like we've said in prior videos that we had a couple years where we just kind of, it was, we had some battle royales in there, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And we had to really scrap what everyone else was doing and redecide this is how we're going to do it, and maybe we'll have a chance. And it's made all the difference. And it's been a rocky road, especially when you introduce kids. It's kind of like, I don't know how to do marriage anymore.
Yeah, because you're exhausted and you're tired and you're learning, okay, this is the new way that I pour out and I give now. Yeah.
What's some stuff that people benefit from that we've done that's radically different?
Mm-hmm. I would say the dating, if not every week, then at least twice a month, and then at least once a year, maybe two, we go away without kids for 2 nights at least, maybe 3 nights for anniversary or something. And people just don't do that. I'm still so shocked to this day when I talk to a friend and they're like, oh, we've never done that. Or they just don't even know of a babysitter. I'm like, wow, you've been married over 10 years and you don't ever go out without your kids? Like, you got to remember, look in your spouse's eye and remember, that's why I married them. Like, there's that fire, there's that desire and that passion there that you just have fun, and then you just want to be together. And if you let kids, snuff that flame out, which they're wonderful. We love children. We're not saying that. But we're saying, don't drift. Right? Yeah. Drift is the natural thing to do, as you were saying. It's what happens just without even trying. So you have to constantly be investing in each other and putting back in.
When you're early in your marriage, dating's easy. Everyone's dating. You're dating. That's all you do. It's just one big date for a couple years, and that can be pretty cool. The big test is when you stop wanting to, you just get tired after work and you don't really want to make that extra investment, or you have kids and now it's just inconvenient and it's expensive. And I'm like, no, you can't afford not to date. I guarantee you, however expensive the babysitters are month to month, it doesn't compare to how expensive the divorce will be. So date. You have to date. Date or recognize your marriage will one day end. All right, folks, so the second radical thing that we have done is we agreed on roles. This will be extremely unpalatable to the modern mind. Tradition has stood the test of time for thousands of years for a reason. And so what I don't want to do is follow the error of the modern progressives, which throws out everything that was well known and established for thousands of years because they don't like it. And I'm like, no, there's some good stuff there. And agreeing on roles is incredibly important.
Got it. Everything today tells me that I have no value if I don't have a meaningful and productive career. It also tells me I have no value if I am monogamous and stuck in the chains of a marriage. So there are several New York Times best-selling books out right now about women who have freed themselves from the chains of marriage and have just gone on these crazy paths that I don't even want to mention. And that is just appalling to me that like you said, what has worked for so long is not only not working anymore in their eyes, but it's also unacceptable. So yeah, society thinks, wow, you're married to the same person this long and you don't have a career, you're a homemaker, wow. But that is what we decided early on works best for us. It's what I feel called to do, it's what I love to do, and that is a radical thing. This is like operating decades or a century behind almost.
But you weren't like that. You were on career track for a long time.
Yes.
And so why did you give up on your dreams? Why did you give up on your dreams?
Why did you give up on your dreams? No.
I'm asking teasingly, but seriously, could you answer that?
Yeah, I could. I am pursuing my dream, which was always a home and family. So, but I started out with a real strong mind for career. So I had my own business for public relations. I worked in sales. I did traveling work for marketing. And then once we had kids, I just wanted to shelve that. And family and home was my #1 priority. So
a lot of girls that you worked with stayed in the career route. And I think they kind of looked down on you as for what you said. And how are they doing now?
Well, there's some with divorces already and just lives that when I look back at them, I'm like, oh, yeah, traditional values do work. Sometimes if, like the New York Times books, if you really do pursue that kind of life, it is just broken in a matter of years. Or a decade or two. You are empty, you are alone. I've seen it already, and we're only in our mid to late 30s here, and I've already seen those dead ends, those walls these people have hit, that they followed the worldly wisdom and advice, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and so she's speaking in sweeping generalities. So if right now you're being like, well, I know so-and-so, and she's a career woman, and she's really happy, and she's single. I'm like, no, fantastic, wonderful. Not against that at all. Just generally speaking, a woman would like to have a loving relationship, raise her kids, and draw most of her value from that, in that legacy. No one's going to remember our 9-to-5s. But your legacy and your kids will be written for generations and generations, meaning the homemaker's work may be far more immortal than yours, filling out TPS reports and stuff. And so it's kind of like the feminist would look down on the homemaker for, why did you give up on your dreams? And the homemaker would say back of like, why would you think that a career was more important than a family? Well, really? And then I think what you saw was a lot of your peers, they hit like 32, 34 years old, panicked that they realized their career was hollower than they thought. Their looks were starting to fade, and then they would immediately try to get married and pop out some kids right away, force happily ever after work, and then when it didn't take, then they would get divorced.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, I'm going off on
that works.
Tangents here. I'm tasked with being the protector, the key provider and the leader in our relationship. I'm the leader. And so that doesn't mean that I'm domineering, and obviously my wife is flourishing. So before you're like, the patriarchy, he says, so I'm like, look at her. You know, we're 15 years in. We're super happy. Our marriage is healthier today than it ever has been. And so consider the outcome of our lives. We're just trying to give some general wisdom, but progressivism has got so many people just brainwashed into thinking anything old is bad, and it's just not. It works.
We have two young friends who recently left their husbands to pursue social justice initiatives and other lifestyles, and we're like, whoa, what was wrong with the wife or husband of your youth? Like, you had a great thing going, you two are such a great fit,
right? And
then all of a sudden it just wasn't modern and edgy enough, just had to get out and do something different.
When I'm sure they weren't probably not capable of really they weren't capable of flourishing that marriage. It became a drag, and then you found something else that made you happy, because this goes into our third radical piece where we have specific roles for us. Your roles may be a little bit different. Maybe you're a dude and you're not even the breadwinner in your house. And I'm not judging any of that, especially for different seasons and stuff, of like, you do you, but understand you got to agree on the roles. And a lot of times the older wisdom is better than the new wisdom. Progressivism is not a good thing. You're progressing in the wrong direction. And much of progressivism is progressing in the wrong direction. There's some good stuff. There's a few good things. And there's a lot of bad. You don't throw out all the old just because you found something shiny and new. So third radically different thing that we've done in our marriage. What would you slide in there?
Worldview and theology.
Worldview and theology. Unpack that. No, what do you mean no? You got to do the thing. You got to say that.
I can't take that one. I can take the others. I can't unpack that one.
You're a different person today than you were 5 years ago. You know, you're growing in all kinds of different directions. But what happens if you and your wife, or you and your wife-to-be, are pretty close now, but you believe a little bit of different stuff just in terms of worldview stuff? Maybe it's a theological disagreement. She's atheist and you all believe in a God, or something, just whatever you imagine the difference is. In 5 years, you will be different people, and you may be growing in different directions. And at the beginning, it may not be that big of a deal, but kind of like firearm sights, pistol sights, you know, if it's a little bit off here, the bullet's not much different here, but downrange, that's a big effect. You want to make sure that you're going in the right direction, and so that you agree on a general overall mission and a way that you see the world. This is probably one of the most important things that you could do with your marriage, is to just make sure that you're lined up, and don't get in a marriage with someone that you don't theologically and philosophically agree. If you have a very different worldview, that's going to be extremely hard to overcome.
Right, especially once you have kids, that's really amplified, and how you're going to educate them. Are they going to church or not? Are you traditional medicine or alternative? Like, all these factors come in.
Homeschool, private, public.
Homeschool, yeah, all that stuff. And you've got to be on the same page.
Yep.
You've got to. We've seen too many relationships where one would just complain about the other of, I can't believe they do it this way, and well, how does she see it that way? And man, that's just a lot of heartache to push through when it could have been prevented by getting on the same page earlier.
If you agree on the same kind of ideas, like for us, Bible is standard of like, all right, we're going to let Jesus decide what a relationship should be like. And since we're both going toward that standard, it assures that we're getting closer and closer together. So there's that. A fourth radical thing is we decided kids wouldn't be little idols in our home. You want to speak to that? Right.
We love them, we cherish them, but the world does not revolve around them. It makes for little kings and who want to sabotage your relationship. So you always make it a good point of they don't interrupt us, or they don't get everything they ask for, or every activity we do doesn't have to be about kids, that we have important rest time and downtime, and especially date nights and nights away too, so that they can grow up with a memory of thinking, you know what, I think my parents did have a good marriage. We really want to be able to give them that.
Yeah. Little kings is another way that you can say little spoiled brats. If you focus on them exclusively at the detriment of each other, you're sending a message that the world revolves around you. And rather, when I'm spending quality time with the missus and we're doing, just whatever, reading or hanging out or laughing or talking, and they come up and say, mommy, mommy, or daddy, daddy. And then we stop as if to say, you have the floor. Of like, no, hey, we're hanging out here. Beat it, kid. See you in 20 minutes, just hanging out. And so that's a better way to go about it. Unless they're like, they're missing an arm or something. You should probably
put the arm back on at least.
Put the arm on.
Send them out.
And then send them away.
Okay.
But don't let them become the little idols. I think probably one of the best gifts we could give to our kids is not suffocating them with all of our attention, but just love your spouse very well.
Right.
And that's going to set a good model.
How many marriages end when the parents drive together to drop the kid at college? They come back home and they're suddenly empty nesters.
That's a good point.
And there's just nothing there.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We've seen it already, yeah.
Yep.
So our relationship is supposed to be lifelong, right?
Yep.
But we're parents with children in the home for 18 years.
Yep.
And then we're still parents our whole lives, obviously, too. But it's different because what we have is separate from that parenting. And I think that that's so lost these days. Like the Adam Sandler movie we watched recently about you give your kid 100%. No, okay, 99%. And the 1% left is for you. I'm like, that's
terrible.
not how it's ever been in any culture at any time. It has never been that way until, the John Roseman is our favorite parenting author, and he calls it postmodern psychological parenting, where in the 60s, these Dr. Spock and other advice givers came in and just turned things up on their head. And now it's all about the children's feelings and, we're creating all these problems and diagnoses and labels. And
it was a logical fallacy of correlation equals causation. So Spock and his contemporaries would say, smart, successful people have high self-esteem. So if you boost self-esteem in young kids, they're more likely to be successful. But when you artificially boost self-esteem without the accolades and the struggle to actually gain something that self-esteem could be predicated on, something real, and you artificially just say, you're the best, here's a trophy, participation is key, then you just end up boosting narcissism. And that's what happened to the millennials, is we just grew up as little narcissists that believed that we were inherently special, though we had done nothing at all ever to prove it.
But I got a trophy in that soccer team.
Never mind.
Participation. See?
She got it.
Didn't I?
That's a great trophy.
I earned that, right?
Congratulations on that. Did you got a soccer trophy?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No.
Way to go.
Yeah.
I would have treated you better all these years if I'd known.
Well, there was that gold star for the picture of the rabbit.
Picture of the rabbit. That's fantastic. That's key. All right, fifth radical thing that we've done. And final, we'll leave you here. All right, what's the fifth and final?
Okay, so our fifth and final radical point is building the same mission. So we want to be on the same page. So for instance, our favorite TV show years ago was The Office. We've watched each episode multiple times every season, but we really hated towards the end how Jim and Pam's relationship started to be more kind of one-sided on what Pam wanted, what Pam was struggling with. So when Jim moved away to the city and was starting a business and was starting this new enterprise, Pam was just like really fussy about, no, this is what I want and I want it this way. And I was like, she's not supporting her husband at all. She really wanted to fight and struggle and have her own mission over here while he was over here with this mission. And I think that's just a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and the problem is they couldn't compromise. And so him, kind of like in a chivalric display, give up on his career to exalt her career. What's wrong with that?
Right. Roles. Was that
Speak
point
to
two?
it. Speak to it. Yeah. Well,
roles.
Yeah, we'll speak to it.
Yeah. So I think
Isn't it a romantic gesture for him to die on his sword and let her career take her career and desires take the...
Yeah, we're not doing that.
You can grab Pam by the shoulders and say this to her.
Say, Pam, your family is enough. It's enough for you. This is what you really want, is to grow and build and nurture your family. Yep. And let Jim be the achiever and breadwinner and bring it all home to you and the kids.
But then an angry feminist throws a shoe at you from the rafters.
Yeah, and they did a lot. And that year I went to that school. And I'm cured. I'm cured.
You're
I
cured?
think the cure for feminism is go to a women's college for a year or two.
Wow.
That'll show you.
Very good. And again, it's radical things. So if people aren't upset, then we probably weren't very radical. You're going to have to figure out marriage, but recognize if we're not doing it radically different than how other folks are doing it, we're going to come up with the same result. What's Einstein's definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Well, what I see out there is a lot of broken marriages where you either get divorced or you end up glorified roommates. And it's very easy to see there's a lot of stuff that isn't working well. So if you want a successful marriage, something that's radically successful, you're going to have to go about it radically different. And that means exploring some options that may be unpalatable in the modern mind. But it works. So guys, this is us just willing you to be smart on how we go about marriage. Make sure you're checking in the comments down below and tell us something of your journey. Give us some advice so that collectively we would be made better by all of our wisdom. And so tell your story down below. Make sure you like and share this video as well. So you want to outro us? You want to say something to them?
Yeah, stay classy. Thanks for stopping by.
Like Veronica Corningstone?
Yeah, that's her.
From The Anchorman?
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
You can't steal her exit.
It's stolen.
Train hard, train smart. Stay classy. Thanks for stopping by.
You stole it.
Stay free. See ya.